Interaction really doesn't have a single underlying dynamic. It can assume many forms. It has one identity, and this is the identity. The effect of x on y depends on the value of z. This means that interaction can assume several different forms, and it can assume many, but I'm going to show you just some of the basic ones that we often encounter in political research. This is a very common pattern, and it's not unlike the one we just looked at. For one value of z, the effect of x on y is weaker than for another value of z. This would be like a negative sloping representation of that fact. And so the effect of z on y differs as well, depending on where you are on x. A small difference here, big difference here. So we have lines going in the same, they're sloping in the same direction, but the strength is much different. Here's a positive, a sloping version of the same idea. And I would say this, if I had to say, I think in most of the relationships you're going to encounter that are interaction effects, this is probably one of these two is the most common form. However, sometimes you'll encounter something like this, and students sometimes mischaracterize this as spurious. And they think it's spurious because from one value of z, there's no effect of x on y, as represented by the flat line here, by the flat line here. But it can only be spurious if the lines are flat for all values of z. Notice when you switch to this value of z, there's a big effect. This value of z, there's a big effect of x on y. So for one value of z, there's no effect of x on y. For the other value of z, there is an effect of x on y. This is a form of interaction where you must specify which value of z you're talking about in order to talk about the effects of x on y. Now I put this in, it's pretty exotic and there just aren't a lot of empirical examples, but it's interesting if you ever encounter this. Notice this is like really interaction because for this value of z, the relationship is that the Republican actually is more in favor of gun control than the Democrat. And for this value of z, the Republican is less in favor of control than the Democrat. So for one value of z, the line slopes upward to the right. It has different direction. It has different direction even though it looks similar. And this value of z is completely different in terms of the direction of the effect. This is sometimes called disordinal interaction, and this is a real exotic rendition of that. But I put it into sort of sensitize you to this possibility that this can happen.